I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the What the Heck podcast. I am your host, Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and I know I always say I'm super excited when I have a guest, and it's because my guests are just so awesome and they're bringing a wealth of knowledge. So this week I have asked, we've become friends throughout the year. His name is Jeffrey Eisen. And I met Jeff maybe 4 or 5 years ago, virtually actually, because he was referred to me by a good friend of mine because I was discussing, I need help with, de-stressing, meditating, and so forth. And he's like, well, you may want to connect with Jeff. So I remember the first conversation, the first phone call, me being a type A personality, and let's get to the point, and it's got to be a way, a structure to meditate. And I remember saying, okay, I need help to meditate and please show me the steps. And I remember Jeff's pausing at the other end of the line and kind of laughing. So I'll take it from here with how we first met. So Jeff, welcome to the What the Heck podcast. I'm excited to see where this conversation is going to go today.
Thank you so much, Nathalie. Thanks for having me on your podcast. And I'm so proud of how far you've gone. Congratulations on your book and all the amazing work that you are doing to help people live in greater health and harmony. I know you have a passion for that. And I see through everything you're doing through this podcast that you are living that passion, and good for you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. We've had some good conversation on that for sure. So, Jeffrey, tell us your story, because I know that when we first spoke, you had told me your story about being a business owner and how you merged to be where you are right now, and what was your journey, because I think it's a pretty interesting story. And then we'll dig in more into meditation, your messages of shalazar, and the channeling that you have done. So let's start with how you got to where you are at right now.
It's interesting, Nathalie, that you talk about being a type A personality, and I was as well. I'm not sure I am anymore. And that's really kind of interesting, because for the first 50 years of my life, I seemed to be one person. I grew up in a small town. I got involved in the family business at a young age and worked for over 30 years in the corporate world, building this business, being determined and focused and wanted to have success in life. And at 50, we had hired a human resources consultant to come into the company to help us with culture and training. And he had given me a few books, and little did I know that those books that I started to read changed my life. The first book that I read was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. And I was so amazed. It was like a whole different world that I wasn't used to. And I actually went to a workshop, and Robin Sharma was my first coach. So that began a journey of self-discovery that has been going on for the last 16 years. And I'm extremely fortunate that I got a do-over. I got to find my authentic self. I got to find out who I truly was. I realized that my type A personality, although well entrenched, and I'm still working on prying it loose, is a learned behavior and not my authentic behavior. So I've changed most of my beliefs. I've changed most of how I operate 180 degrees. And I've dedicated my life to awakening, empowering, and inspiring others by sharing my love and wisdom.
Why do you think, Jeffrey, that you wanted to change those beliefs, because I just was having a discussion earlier today of people need to have a big enough why to make changes. So why do you think you got driven to do that change?
That's an interesting question, because I agree that we do need a why. I'm not sure how how big the why needs to be. In my case, at 50, I had accomplished so much, and I was just wondering there had to be more in life. I had a beautiful family. I had accumulated some financial wealth. The business was going well, but there was something missing. There was just an inner tingle within me, and there was something missing in my life, and it just began this quest. There were some health issues that probably nudged me along as well. I had gastrointestinal issues most of my life. I had Crohn's disease, and I had just gone through my first resection, where I had a piece of my small intestine taken out. And there's nothing like being cut open at the mercy of the surgeon to make you reflect a little bit on your mortality. And so that was my why. My why was there had to be more to life, and I went on this quest to find that more. I'm still on it. It's a destination. It's a journey, rather. Pardon me. I always was very destination focused. It's a journey, and it's taken me on a beautiful wild ride, to the point where I have contemplated and thought about the higher power about this life, and that's the fascinating part. And although I'm a life coach, I'm also a spiritual coach. And an energy intuitive and a channel. And that has been really, really the fun part of my journey.
Cool. So let's talk about the channeling, because I find that so fascinating that you're getting all these messages, and just, explain to our listener what you're referring to. And then, as I've been listening to those messages and the wisdom they have brought me, and I was just saying earlier to someone that if I did not listen hundreds of times to your 15 original messages, I haven't listened to it once. And every time I learn something different, or I guess I'm a different person when I listen to it. So of course I learned something different. So I know at first, I was like, what is he talking about with, those messages and channeling? So first of all, when did you start doing that? And what has it brought to you to be able to share those messages?
Thanks for asking that question. I guess that goes back to Robin Sharma, and one of the first practices that he taught me was early awakening. He made me get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would have to learn to meditate, quiet my mind, journal. And in the journaling, in the beginning, the journaling was the pouring out of all of the unexpressed emotions that I had. That's part of the problem of us type A people, is we tend to operate in the mind and not as much in our feeling consciousness. And I would pour onto the paper all of the stuff that was bothering me for years and years. And I guess after I had cleaned it out, I found myself asking bigger picture questions. And what was amazing is that onto the paper came these profound answers that I didn't know where they came from. I would reread the journal entry after and read it to my wife, and she would say, "Where is this coming from?" And I said, "I really don't know." And that began my communication, my connection to this higher power. I can't tell you that I understand fully the invisible world, because I don't, but I do know that something amazing has allowed me to tap into it and is sharing phenomenal wisdom. It took me a while before the name Shalazar appeared. Anytime I would ask more detailed questions, more logical questions about who they are or what they are a collective, I would be shut down. And I realized that the only way I was going to get this wisdom is if I surrendered, kept my mind quiet, and allowed them to come through me. For those of the listeners that aren't aware, channeling is the way that, in a sensory way, we connect to our intuition, our sixth sense, the invisible world, whatever you wish to call it. And through that sensory connection, you get messages or wisdom or anything that you can then translate and transcript. In my case, I do it into written words. The messages of Shalazar on the website now. There are soon to be 85 messages. I've been doing this for about 10 or 12 years, and I'm just amazed at this wisdom. And I've come to realize that this wisdom needs to get out to the world because it's universal and it changes people's lives.
Yeah, and talking about those, and I don't mind sharing it. Like I said, I've listened to many of them, and now exciting for you that you're collaborating with Dr. Patrick Porter to have the messages of Shalazar available through BrainTap, which is a application which is also using a device to maximize the experience. So is it fully launched yet, or
not quite? We're getting there. I believe it's just about there. Sometimes with technology, things take a little bit longer than we would like. But we're just about there. And the beautiful thing is this, and thank you, Nathalie, for making that connection. The Shalazar app on BrainTap Pro would not be a reality unless it was for you. And thank you for making that connection. Dr. Patrick Porter took all of the messages from Shalazar and encoded them with binaural beats and isochronic tones so that they put you into an alpha or a theta state. And that is the best way for these messages to be absorbed, because these messages don't talk to your brain, so to speak. They talk to that other than conscious part of you. And that is so important. That's where your changes have come in your life. That's where my changes have come. And that's where I would encourage the listeners, if I had one message for the listeners today, it would be to quiet your mind and open your heart and connect to your feeling consciousness. I often tell the people that I coach with that everything we really want in life is a feeling. We may think that it's a thing. We may think it's the career or the car or writing the book or the romantic relationship. But at the root of everything we want is a feeling. And yet we think we can get there with our linear, logical mind, and it doesn't work. So I'm the poster boy, and I'm here today to tell you to please quiet your mind and open your heart. Get in touch with the sensory part of you, and you will find amazing transformations in your well-being.
Yeah. Two things to that. So I was a bit selfish to put you in contact with Dr. Porter because I was using the technology and I just love your messages. Now, I'm able to, being part of the beta test, I'm able to use the fantastic technology and your messages. And it is so true. And I know when I visited you, in Toronto, I guess last year, you ran a workshop for colleagues of mine. And one thing that we did was goal setting, but in a total different way, because we talked more about the feeling that we wanted. So I call this goal setting to the next level. And I've kept with that trend. And even in my own practice, I always map a patient's journey when they come in and what feeling I want them to have. And, I went back to, the journey of a patient and wrote down the feeling that I wanted people to have, because as you say in your messages, feelings create, and I am reminding myself of that very often. So let's dig a little bit more, Jeffrey, on, people, and I'm the first one. We have racing minds, and you say, quiet your mind, quiet your mind. Can you give us some tips, for beginners, for people that have been doing this for many years, but tips that can help people quiet their mind? What should it look like? How long should it be for? And what should one expect?
Great question. One of the things I have found is that, and I think meditation is great. It's coming out there a lot more. There's mindfulness courses. There's the John Kabat-Zinn mindfulness for stress reduction. There's yoga. I think it's coming into the forefront, and that's wonderful. But one of the big paradigm shifts that I would invite people to entertain is when you're looking at quieting your mind, then don't engage the mind. And so, one of my favorite quotes from Shalazar is "Be still, be more still, be still again." And so it is trying to get to that still mind. The people that are trying to meditate with a process seem to have one strike against them, because they're thinking, okay, here's my checklist. Now I'm going to sit down.
That was me.
I'm going to get in this position. I'm going to turn on this music. I'm going to do this. And so it's really a letting go. And it's so interesting because the words surrender, let go, release were the three words that came out in my journaling in the beginning so often. Every time I would connect to Shalazar, they would remind me to surrender, let go, and release. And I remember being taught a technique that helped me, and that is to just sit in silence and allow yourself to become the observer of your thoughts. And Shalazar talks about this in a very spiritual way, because that observer is really that infinite part of you. Some people call it the spirit, the soul, whatever. But if you can engage the observer, so in other words, here I am, Jeffrey Eisen, sitting down to meditate, and I am invoking and calling upon a part of me to watch that actor that I call by my name. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden that separating of the two allows me, believe it or not, to come to a place of unity, because as I am watching myself and watching my thoughts, I realize that I can let go of that thought. First of all, and again, I'll credit Robin Sharma, my first coach, for teaching me the line that I use often and a lot to people, and that is that awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. So simply that awareness of what's going on in your mind. I use the analogy of a Formula One race car driver, and when they need a mechanical repair, they slow down, they move into the pit, and they let the mechanics work on the car. I'm not sure that the driver allows his mind to be quiet. If he would probably be a much better race car driver. It is so important in this busy world to take some time to slow it down. The late Wayne Dyer used to say that the human beings have between 30 and 60,000 thoughts a day. So can you imagine how much we are burning rubber, so to speak, in our mind? So make meditation simple. Don't make it complex. Start small. I strongly recommend people begin their meditation practice in the morning and the evening. Those are transition times. When you wake up, you're coming from a sleep consciousness, from a deeper delta or theta state, beginning to move into the beta state. At that transition period, take some time and do it slowly and in a more relaxed way. So that's the time to do your morning meditation. 10 minutes is fine. I found that 20 minutes is great. It does require discipline, because you are raised with that belief that you accomplish more by being productive. What I have found is that you accomplish more by being relaxed. And again, that's one of those beliefs that I changed 180 degrees from my work days. I accomplish much more when I begin my day from a meditative state.
Yeah, I remember, you may remember that, Jeffrey, from when we started talking and coaching, that, being so focused on productivity, and you were telling me to slow down. And I remember one time you said, Nathalie, I'm not asking you to sit on the couch and eat bonbons here, meaning that, we're not going to not put things in place. But let me tell you that I have slowed down quite a bit. And it is so true that slowing down will give us that clarity and that focus, and seem to be making us more productive, which sounds so counterintuitive to say. And me and exercise now. If I have 20 minutes, I will sometime pick my meditation over my workout. And years ago, it would have been the other way around. But I'm finding it fascinating now that I can slow down my mind to help create what I want, as opposed to pushing. Because that was the conversation we had often too. And believe me, again, I think it's a work in progress for all of us. And that pushing is tiring. Of course, it's important to have goals and so forth, but allowing and releasing is much more fulfilling. And when you see many times over that you're getting probably better results to go at it that way, this is how I think it becomes more comfortable for people to do. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We need to retrain the neural pathways. We need to retrain those old belief systems. A message that I would like to give to your listeners is that health and well-being is not just physical. It's not just mental. It's not just emotional. It's not just spiritual. It is all. Shalazar talks a lot about the unity. And we have these various aspects of ourselves. We have a physical aspect, we have a mental aspect, an emotional, and a spiritual. And it is so important to work on the well-being of all of them. I know some people who pride themselves in great physical well-being, and yet they seem to have some real emotional and mental challenges in their life. I know others who work diligently on just spiritual well-being, and they seem to have some physical maladies. So the key is to work on all of it. And so it's not either or, it's and in both. It's not giving up your exercise for meditation. It's not just doing meditation. It's making sure that we have balance. Shalazar talks a lot about the balance. And they talk about how there's no such thing as ever remaining in balance, because when you get into a place of balance, you will get thrown off. It's like the body. And I know, Nathalie, you know a lot about the physical body and homeostasis. And to get into that place, because, we just had this challenging winter storm here in Toronto, and that will throw your balance off. And so, in that day, getting around the city is a real challenge. That's the day that you want to meditate, you want to relax a little bit more. Okay. I often also recommend to people just a breath, just one deep breath will get you centered. And so maybe everybody wants to try it now on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And feel the relaxation. Feel the relaxation that your whole body has. You don't realize that when you're in this mental state, that you're often creating a tightness in your body. And I would also like to say that it's so important to connect to your emotions. Often when we're in that hyperactive mental state, we are not aware of the feelings that are happening in our body. The feeling of stress, the feeling of hopelessness, the feeling of fear. And as you mentioned, Shalazar tells us that feelings create. They also say that feelings are truth. So if a fear comes up, don't be afraid of it. Feel it. Shalazar says to acknowledge, accept, and let the feelings speak to you. And I've worked with a lot of people, helping them understand what I would call those lower and slower feelings. So many people say that those feelings are either bad or good, that anger is a bad feeling. Well, it's not a bad feeling. If we let go of the judgment, we realize it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's a lower and slower feeling, but it might be your body's way of telling you that you are out of balance, that you are out of alignment. And I know as a chiropractor, you are familiar with the term subluxation, and there are subluxations in the body, but there are also emotional subluxations. And if you're not processing your fear or your anger or your mistrust or your frustration, then it's going to form this tightness in your body, and it will stop the natural flow of vibrations, and vibrations create.
I know that, when you share that with me, what made sense too is that how are we going to know what joy feels like if we haven't feel a opposite emotion? So those fluctuation, if we're always in a state of joy, we wouldn't know the balance, well, not a balance, but the opposite emotion, and vice versa. So that really made sense to me. And that's why, like you said, those feelings are not necessarily bad. They're real. They're true. We have to acknowledge them. We don't have to hold on to them. I think that's the key, but they are a message, just like a symptom or a pain is a message to the body, right?
Right. And let's tie that back to what we were talking about earlier. And that is that if everything we really want in life is a feeling, if we have lost our connection, then, and I think that's what happened to me when I was 50. I had the financial success. I was married. I had wonderful children, and something was missing. And what was missing was the feelings, because I wasn't feeling. I had cut off my sense of feeling. As a man growing up in society today, I was told not to be sensitive, not to be emotional. And so what was missing was my feelings. And when you cut off your feelings, I often say to people, it's like a river, and I'll use the visual. If you've narrowed your feelings like this, then you're not going to be able to feel the joy and the happiness, because you're afraid of the fear and the frustration. And when you open that up, as you say, you're going to be able to know by comparison that I much prefer balance and joy and harmony to frustration and anger and fear. And it's so important to feel, because that's what we want in life. And so to engage or connect, I say to people who say to me, well, how do I feel? And you know that's a head person talking to you. It's like, would you please give me the process so I can learn to feel?
Sounds familiar.
Of course, the answer is that we all feel, but we disconnect from those feelings. And meditation, let me tie it back into meditation. If we begin to meditate, we're quieting the mind, and a natural outpouring of that is that you start connecting to your feelings. When you finish that meditation, or as you're moving through that meditation, you become so much more aware of the feelings that come up, whether it's calm, whether it's harmony. When you're finished the meditation, maybe a fear comes up. And so meditation and quieting the mind is a great way to be able to reconnect to your feelings. And when you reconnect to your feelings, then you can be more conscious in your choices of what you want. And then you can also create and manifest what you're looking for in life.
That's awesome. Jeffrey, we could speak for hours. I wish it was longer. So a couple of things here. I always ask all my guests if they have a favorite quote to share with our listeners. Do you have a quote that you find more powerful than another?
I have a lot of quotes from the days I used to do a lot of reading. Interestingly enough, I don't read much now. I rely on the higher realm to bring me my wisdom. But one that stands out was the Gandhi quote, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." I think it's so important to realize that everything we're seeing in our outer world is a manifestation of what's going on inside of us. So be the change you want to see in the world. If you want more love, then give yourself more love. If you want to see more compassion, give yourself more compassion. Work on yourself. This journey is amazing. I'm a big fan of self-care. So again, focus on yourself, and you will see your world change. I know my outer world definitely did.
Oh, awesome wisdom. So Jeffrey, how can people find out more about you, the messages of Shalazar, and how to get more of what we talked about today?
Thanks for that opportunity for sharing. You can check out my spiritual life coaching website, awakeningtheself.com. Talks about the services that I provide. There's the Shalazar website, shalazar.com. There's the YouTube Shalazar channel. There's also a podcast that I'm going to be doing called Shalazar, the Shalazar podcast. And those are the places you can find me. It is my mission in life to get what I have learned and share it with the world because I know it's changed my life, and I truly want to be able to change the lives of others so that we can make this planet a better place. And I think a lot of people would agree that there are some difficult and challenging things happening in our world, and that change once again starts with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your wisdom. So this was Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp on the What the Heck podcast. And just like Jeffrey, our guest today, was saying, be the change you want to see in the world. So have a great week, everyone, and I will see you next week.
Thank you, Nathalie. Big love to you.
I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.